What's going on, everybody? This video you're watching is The Year in Wrestling 2004 Part 2. Thanks for checking it out if you are watching it. And if you're not, you're not. I don't really care. I'm going to start off talking about the first pay-per-view after WrestleMania 20, which was Backlash 04. Took place in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Some matches I enjoyed that I thought were good are the matches I'm going to talk about. In the main events, I'm going to talk about the rest of the matches that I do not mention, I didn't really care for. Up first at Backlash 04 was Selchin Benjamin, or Selchin, whatever his name is, I can't pronounce it good. Benjamin defeated Ric Flair to kick off the pay-per-view. I believe Benjamin was the Intercontinental Champion at the time. Or maybe I'm wrong about that. Whatever. I don't know if he's Intercontinental Champ. I think Randy Orton was. So he defeats Ric Flair. That was nice of Ric Flair to put over Benjamin. The coach defeated Tajiri after Garrison Cade interfered. And that, I don't know why they had the coach go over Tajiri, because I like Tajiri. This was a good match. Jericho defeated Christian and Trish Stratus in a handicap match. That was some entertaining stuff. Women's champion Victoria defeated Lita. That was entertaining. Intercontinental champion Randy Orton defeated Cactus Jack in a no-holds-barred match. This was Mick Foley returning to pay-per-view again after WrestleMania 20, where he just worked as Mick Foley, basically. So at Backlash, he returned as Cactus Jack, one of his alter egos. It was great stuff. It was a great hardcore match. Cactus brought out the barbed wire boards and got body slammed on one of the barbed wire boards. Randy Orton, towards the end of the match, tried to RKO. Cactus threw him off of him. And then Randy Orton back first lands on all the thumbtacks. And there were probably over 5,000 thumbtacks. Randy Orton lands on him, bare back first, lands on him, has a ton of thumbtacks stuck in his back and stuck in his ass and stuck in his arms and elbow. It was awesome. It was a great spot. It was a great no-holds-barred match. Randy Orton wins, and that was awfully nice and cool of Mick Foley to put over Randy Orton like that, because it really made Randy Orton look strong. And he gave him a great push after he defeated Cactus Jack. It just made Randy Orton look super strong, like a great heel that could not be beat. And then later on, in 2004, Randy Orton would go on to win the World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam, which was great. So he defeats Cactus Jack. As I said, it was a great hardcore no-holds-barred match. Much respect to Randy Orton for taking that spot and landing on all those thumbtacks, because I would have not done that. I'm too much of a pussy. I don't want to land on thumbtacks, because I'm sure it hurt like hell. But maybe I would if, I don't know, if someone paid me $1 million, maybe I would. Anyways, other matches at Backlash that were good. Eugene interfered in a tag team match. It was a Hurricane and Rosie defeating La Resistance, and Eugene interfered. Some people were offended by the Eugene character and how it was portrayed. Well, I was a fan of Eugene, and I thought the character was great. And it was funny as hell. What does that say about me? I don't know. I do have a sick sense of humor. I know that, but I enjoyed Eugene, and I enjoyed his character and how the guy played it. I believe his name is Nick Densmore. So how he played the character Eugene, I enjoyed it. And I wasn't laughing at Eugene. I was laughing along with him. I thought it was just funny as hell the stuff he would do and how he would act. So I enjoyed Eugene. But some probably found him offensive and a stupid character. Edge defeated Kane. That was a good match. Now the main event of Backlash was for the Raw World Heavyweight Championship. Chris Benoit defending the World Heavyweight Championship in his first pay-per-view title defense against Triple H and Shawn Michaels. I believe all three guys would bleed a lot in this match, or maybe I'm wrong, but I believe Triple H did bleed a lot in this match. Maybe Benoit and Shawn Michaels did not. I don't remember. But it was a pretty damn good triple threat match. Chris Benoit wins. Of course he's going to win. He was only a month into his title reign. So Benoit wins and retains the World Heavyweight Championship. Backlash 04 was a good pay-per-view. I enjoyed it. Now on to the main pay-per-view, Judgment Day 04. Good stuff at Judgment Day. You had Rey Mysterio and Rob Van Dam team up and defeat the Dudley Boys. Tori Wilson defeated Dawn Marie, which was not a good match. Mordecai, the new superstar on Smackdown that debuted. They still had the brand split, so this guy was a new superstar debuting. His name was Mordecai. He was like an Undertaker type character. He had a white hair, or bleached hair, white wrestling gear. He had a pretty cool entrance theme. And he came out with a cross or some cross type symbol, and he put it in the ground, and then he had pyro explode and flames went down the aisle when he would do his entrance. I enjoyed the Mordecai character, but it didn't last long, and WWE must have not enjoyed it because they got rid of it. Within 2 or 3 months, it was gone. Mordecai was gone, and I believe they sent him back to OVW. Later on, Mordecai would become Kevin Thorne in the new ECW. Or debut in the new ECW as Kevin Thorne, like a vampire type gimmick he had with his manager Ariel. But the short time Mordecai was around, I enjoyed him, but I'm sure a lot of people thought he was stupid and it was a god-awful character. Mordecai was even supposed to wrestle The Undertaker at SummerSlam 04 and go over The Undertaker and beat him, but WWE didn't go with those plans because Mordecai was gone after Great American Bash in July. That was his last pay-per-view appearance as Mordecai. And the character, as I said, was dropped. Other matches. So Mordecai defeated Scotty 2 Hotty, basically beat the hell out of him, squashed him. It was like a squash match. Scotty 2 Hotty was a jobber to Mordecai. It did not last long. Charlie Haas and Rico defeated Billy Gunn and Hardcore Holly. And Charlie Haas and Rico were a team for a short time. I thought they were a pretty entertaining team. What do we got here? Chavo Guerrero defeated Cruiserweight Champion. That can't be right. Whatever, I'll skip that match. It says Chavo Guerrero defeated Jacqueline. I don't remember that. And why would Jacqueline be the Cruiserweight Champion? I doubt that was happened. And if it did, I do not remember that. U.S. Champion John Cena defended and defeated Rene Dupree. That was pretty good of a match. The Undertaker basically destroyed Booker T and defeated him real quick. JBL defeated Smackdown WWE Champion Eddie Guerrero by disqualification, and this is a famous match where JBL on the outside of the ring picks up a chair, cracks Eddie in the head with it. Sounded like a gunshot went off. Cracked Eddie in the head. And I think those chairs would make so much noise because they were aluminum or like really soft type metal, but whatever. Like a pan type metal. Because it made a really loud sound when JBL cracked Eddie in the head with it. Anyways, JBL cracks Eddie in the head with the chair, and then Eddie right away goes down, lays up against the guardrail. Basically, right after he got hit with the chair, you could tell he tried to hide himself, and he bladed. He cut himself. And then Eddie must have cut way too deep, because I've never seen anybody bleed this much in my life in a wrestling ring. Eddie Guerrero, blood started pouring. They put the camera on him when he was sitting down on the outside of the ring. Blood started pouring out of his head, pouring down his face, onto his chest, pouring down his chest. So Eddie was busted open really, really bad. And it added to the end of the match. They kept ringing the bell. The match was over. It was a DQ, but Eddie Guerrero kept fighting and fighting back and fighting back and showing great heart and jumping on JBL and fighting back, even though he was bleeding a ton. He was bleeding like a stuffed pig. He wouldn't stop bleeding, and he wouldn't stop fighting and fighting. So Eddie Guerrero showed great heart as WWE Champion, fighting back JBL after the match was over. And JBL and Eddie kept going at it after the match was over. JBL even tried to leave the ring, and Eddie ran down the aisle and jumped on JBL and continued fighting him. And then Eddie ran into the ring, picked up the title, and posed, and he was a bloody mess, and the pay-per-view went off the air. I really enjoyed Judgment Day, and I really enjoyed the brawl between JBL and Eddie Guerrero, where Eddie was busted open, bleeding really bad. As I said, I've never seen any WWE superstar in history bleed that much, except for maybe John Cena at Judgment Day 06. John Cena bled a lot in the I Quit match against JBL. And then in 05 or 04, Eddie bled a damn lot against JBL at Judgment Day. So that was great. The Judgment Day pay-per-view wasn't that good, but Eddie versus JBL I did enjoy. Now I'm going to talk about, before I talk about Bad Blood that happened in June, and it was a Raw pay-per-view, Bad Blood 03. Originally, the Bad Blood name was attached to In Your House Bad Blood, the first In Your House Bad Blood, where Undertaker took on HBK in the first ever Hell in a Cell match. So that was the original Bad Blood. They took the Bad Blood name and put it on a Raw pay-per-view, or a Raw brand only pay-per-view event for June 03. But before I talk about Bad Blood, I'm going to talk about TNA, NWA TNA, and they were still called NWA TNA basically in 03. They put on their 2-year anniversary show, which happened in June of 03. So TNA was 2 years old at the time. The opening match, I believe, was a 6-man tag, or I think it was a 6-man tag with Jerry Lynn and I forget his partners. It might have been America's Most Wanted and Jerry Lynn against Team Canada. And then later on in the show, on the 2-year anniversary show, they had some wrestling midgets, some luchador midgets from, I think, AAA in Mexico. They had them wrestle on the show. Also, Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, was working in TNA at the time. I think he was a booker. I don't know if he's head booker, but he was a booker and helping with creative. Anyways, Dusty Rhodes wrestled and took on Scott D'Amore of Team Canada. And that was at the 2-year anniversary show. I believe Dusty Rhodes won, but I don't really remember who won. You also had, they weren't called TNA Knockouts at the time, but they were two women wrestling each other. So I guess they were some of the very first TNA Knockouts. You had Trinity, who was a manager of Kid Cash earlier in 03. Trinity started early 2003. Trinity was hanging around Kid Cash all the time. So Trinity could wrestle. I think she was trained by Mikey Whipwreck. I might have that wrong. I don't know. Anyways, Trinity was a pretty damn good talent. She could do a lot of high-flying moves. She could do a moonsault off the top rope to the floor. She could do her Karanas. She could do it all. She was great. She was a great female talent. She wasn't a great wrestler, but she was a great talent. So Trinity took on Desire, and Desire was hanging around Sonny Siaki at the time, and eventually the two got married later on after they were out of TNA. Desire and Sonny Siaki actually got married, and I believe they're still married to this day. I think they are. Anyways, Desire took on Trinity. It was a stretcher match, and it was pretty entertaining. Both women tried really hard, and they went in the crowd and brawled. Trinity went up on a balcony and tried to jump through a table to put Desire through a table. Desire moved, so Trinity just fell through the table off the balcony, probably 10-foot drop. That was pretty cool. Anyways, I don't remember who won the stretcher match, but it doesn't really matter. Other things that happened on the TNA 2-year anniversary show. I don't think it was a main event. It might have been, I'm not sure. AJ Styles was defending the X Division Championship against a mystery opponent. Who was a mystery opponent? It was Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy came out, got a great reaction. The crowd loved it, loved seeing him. Gave him a great reaction, and AJ and Jeff Hardy had a pretty good match. So Jeff Hardy made his TNA debut. This was his first run with TNA Wrestling in June 03, and then he left. And he left in, I think, 04, 05, or came back to WWE in 06, I think. With his brother Matt, and they teamed up again in 06, and then he went on to be a singles wrestler in WWE, and then he would leave again and show up in TNA Wrestling again in January 2010. So this was Jeff Hardy's first run with TNA. Wasn't that memorable. He didn't win any titles, but whatever. TNA, the crowd was surprised. The wrestling world was surprised when Jeff Hardy showed up on a TNA pay-per-view in June 03 at the 2-year anniversary show. And I believe WWE released Jeff Hardy in 03 because he wouldn't go to rehab when they wanted him to. So he wouldn't go, so they released him, and then a couple months later he went to TNA. So that all happened at the 2-year anniversary show, and as I said, AJ Styles, I believe, retained and defeated Jeff Hardy. Now on to, before I talk about Bad Blood, I'll talk about Ring of Honor. They put on a pretty big show in June 03. Not 03, 2004. I'm talking about 2004. If I said TNA's anniversary show, it was 2004 was their second anniversary show, not 2003. I apologize if if I said Judgment Day 03, or I called Bad Blood from 03, it was Bad Blood 2004, because this is the year I'm talking about, the year 2004. Stupid ass me forgot. I've written on a piece of paper right in front of me, and I still screwed up. Anyways, I'm looking for Ring of Honor's show from 04 in June. Why can't I find it? Here it is. It happened in June, on June 24th, 04. It was called Ring of Honor's Survival of the Fittest. They had a tournament. For what? I don't know, but they put on a tournament on the show. Mark Briscoe defeated Alex Shelley. I don't remember this show, but I'm sure it was good. Colt Cabana defeated Trent Acid. John Walters defeated Austin Aries, versus Austin Aries. That ended in a no contest. Homicide defeated Jay Briscoe. Bryan Danielson defeated Jack Evans. Samoa Joe defeated Matt Striker in these Raw tournament matches. Maybe for the World Heavyweight title, I don't know. Bryan Danielson won a 6-way elimination style Survival of the Fittest final match. And these were coming up, what I'm about to read were non-tournament matches. Generation Next, Austin Aries and Roderick Strong defeated John Walters and Josh Daniels. Rock and Rebel defeated some Scott Cardinal. Never heard of Scott Cardinal. CM Punk by himself defeated Special K, Dixie, and Hydro. And Dunn and Marcus and the Outcast Killer in a handicap tag team scramble match. Then the final guy, CM Punk, defeated Hydro. So he defeated, I think, 5 guys at once in a scramble match. So that was the main event, I guess. CM Punk defeats Special K in a handicap survival, or handicap tag team scramble match. So that was Ring of Honor's Survival of the Fittest, which took place in June of 04. Now on to Raw's Bad Blood 04. Chris Benoit and Edge kicked off the show, teaming up, defeating Raw Tag Team Champions Ron Conway and Sylvain Grenier by DQ when Kane interfered. And later, Benoit would go on to defend the title against Kane. Chris Jericho defeated Tyson Tomko. Intercontinental Champion Randy Orton defeated Shelton Benjamin to retain the Intercontinental title. Trish Stratus defeated Women's Champion Victoria, Gail Kim, and Lita in a fatal 4-way match to win the title when Trish pinned Lita. Eugene defeated the Coach. That was entertaining. The Divas match was really entertaining, where Trish won the title. I was always a big Trish Stratus mark and fan. I think she was great the time she was in WWE. Raw World Heavyweight Champion Chris Benoit defeated Kane by pinfall. That was a decent world title match, but it wasn't that long. In the main event, Triple H defeated Shawn Michaels in a Hell in a Cell match. Now this went on for, I think, 45 minutes, and it was a war. It was brutal. Both Shawn and Hunter bled. Of course, everybody knows they're best friends. So they had a great match together, and they always had great chemistry together. Shawn and HBK had a great Hell in a Cell match. They bled a lot. They gave us everything they had in their bodies, so you couldn't really ask for any more. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great Hell in a Cell match. And Triple H and Shawn Michaels were great damn workers, so of course it was probably going to be a great Hell in a Cell match, because they're two of the best workers in the business, in the history of the business. Now, to SmackDown's Great American Bash pay-per-view. This was the first Great American Bash under WWE's name because they took the name from WCW. U.S. Champion John Cena kicked off the show, defeating Booker T, Rene Dupree, and Rob Van Dam in a fatal four-way elimination match. So John Cena retains and is still U.S. Champion. I believe Cena came out and had the spinner U.S. title belt at the time. That was a pretty cool-looking belt. Some were angry that he made the U.S. title a spinner belt, but I didn't really care, and I wasn't angry about it. Luther Reigns defeated Charlie Haas. Nobody cared about that match. Shouldn't have been on a pay-per-view. Cruiserweight champion Rey Mysterio defeated Chavo Guerrero Jr. in a good cruiserweight title match. Kenzo Suzuki, who wasn't around very long in the WWE, he was on the Smackdown brand. Kenzo Suzuki defeated Billy Gunn. That match also could have been on Smackdown and not pay-per-view. Sable defeated Torrie Wilson. That match was pretty awful because both of them couldn't really wrestle. Mordecai, on his last pay-per-view appearance, Mordecai defeated Hardcore Holly and basically squashed Hardcore Holly. John Bradshaw Layfield, I'll just call him JBL, defeated SmackDown WWE Champion Eddie Guerrero in a bull rope match to win the title. This had some controversy. At the end, it ended controversial. I believe Eddie was trying to jump over JBL, and JBL was holding him. Then JBL's back, I believe, hit one of the turnbuckles, the last turnbuckle, before Eddie got to touch the turnbuckle. So JBL won the match like that. And they had these lights lit up whenever one of them would touch the corner. I believe it would go on green for Eddie, and the other light would go on to red when JBL would touch a corner, because in a bull rope match, you had to pull your opponent around with the bull rope. You had to pull them and touch all four corners of the turnbuckles, all four corners of the ring to win the match. So JBL wins, becomes WWE Champion. I was pretty disappointed and mad at the time that they took the title off of Eddie, because I was a big Eddie Guerrero fan. And I liked Eddie as WWE Champion. I wish he could have had the title way longer and had a longer run with it. But no, WWE had to end it and end Eddie's title run. That really sucked. As I said, I was pissed off about it. But in the long run, JBL was a pretty decent WWE Champion. He held it a long time. He defended it a lot. He was booked very good as a heel champion on SmackDown. He was a face of SmackDown basically, and I believe JBL is still the longest reigning WWE champion in the 2000s. So congratulations to JBL for accomplishing that. But it sucked because Eddie just won the title in February 04, and then in July 04 he drops the title. That sucked, because Eddie Guerrero deserved to have a longer run as champion, I thought. At least I thought. So it sucks Eddie lost, but that's a part of history. He did lose it, and we can't do nothing about it. So that was Great American Bash 04, and after the WWE title match, you had the main event, which was The Undertaker taking on the Dudley Boys in a handicap match. And Paul Heyman was at ringside. I believe he was the general manager still of SmackDown. And he was in a feud with The Undertaker, and Paul Heyman and the Dudleys, I believe, kidnapped The Undertaker on a Smackdown or something. So they were holding him hostage, and if The Undertaker lost, then Paul Bearer had to be buried in cement, and it was called a concrete crypt match or some crap like that. I think it's called Concrete Crypt. Paul Bearer was in a plastic or glass box sitting in a chair. Then they had a cement truck over the box ready to pour cement in the box. If Undertaker lost, Paul Bearer would be buried alive in cement. And if anybody's ever buried in cement, you would fucking die and not be able to breathe. But whatever, I don't know how they pulled that off, but they did. And I actually heard Paul Bearer talk in a shoot interview he did that I own. Paul Bearer said that the concrete, the box he was sitting in and the concrete coming up to his face and his mouth was real. That it was real concrete, and that they had a plan to, if Paul Bearer couldn't get out of there or couldn't breathe or something, or if they filled up too high above his mouth and nose, WWE, he said, had a plan to break the box or break it apart with sledgehammers and get Paul Bearer out of there and rescue him. I don't know how they would have done that, but whatever. Paul Bearer said it was real cement. It looked like it was real cement to me. It was falling in the box from the cement truck, so how could that be fake? So it looked pretty real to me. I believe it looked like it went over Paul Bearer's head, the cement, so I don't know how the hell he got out of it, but he did, obviously, because he lived a couple more years after that. I don't know how they pulled that off. Maybe it was trick photography or some type of movie special effect. I don't think it wasn't pre-taped, because Paul Bearer was sitting in the box and got the cement poured in there when he was in there, and he was screaming when the cement was coming up. He was screaming, I think he was screaming Undertaker's name or something. Anyways, maybe it was pre-taped and whatever. I don't know if it was a pre-taped and they had cement go over a fake Paul Bearer rubber head. Who knows? Maybe they built a fake Paul Bearer face. I don't know. Maybe they just had his voice. They could have his voice on the pay-per-view screaming no, no, and then screaming no, Undertaker, no. Maybe it was a fake Paul Bearer head and face, but I think they showed his mouth actually moving and yelling. So whatever, I don't know how they pulled it off, but WWE pulled it off, and it was a great special effect and a pretty good end to Great American Bash. After I saw that, I thought, what in the fuck? I thought, how'd they pull that off? And then I thought to myself, and I laughed, I thought, Paul Bearer's fucking dead. What the hell is going on? I didn't know how the hell they pulled that off, and I was pretty hyped up and excited after Great American Bash went off the air, because I didn't know what the hell happened to Paul Bearer and how they did that, with the concrete cement being poured in the box with them. Anyways, that was Great American Bash, the July 2004 Smackdown pay-per-view. I will talk about SummerSlam in my next video, part 3 of the Year in Wrestling 2004. I forgot to mention in April, AJ Styles won the NWA title from Jeff Jarrett inside a steel cage on an NWA TNA pay-per-view, which I ordered. So that happened. AJ won the world title back, and I think he lost it by I think AJ was not world champion anymore by the 2-year anniversary show in June. Anyways, AJ won the title in April 2004 in a steel cage, defeating Jeff Jarrett. AJ was a babyface at this time. Then in June, I forgot to mention, it happened on Raw in June. Triple H went up against Chris Benoit for the World Heavyweight Championship, and Triple H got a world title shot on Raw, and it was an Iron Man match. Benoit, Triple H, they had a great Iron Man match. It was pretty damn entertaining, and that's all I remember about it. It was a good match, and it was entertaining. So that happened on Raw in 2004, where Benoit took on Triple H in an Iron Man match. In Raw before that, Raw never had an Iron Man match ever. So it was the first Iron Man match on Raw. So I'm done now. This video you watched was the Year in Wrestling 2004 Part 2. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye for now, everybody.